They buried this knowledge, literally, a simple hole in the ground, something anyone can dig. But what if that same pit could keep you warm all night, even in freezing conditions? Because in survival, cold is not just uncomfortable, it is deadly. Heat escapes faster than you think and body temperature drops silently. Once it falls too low, recovery becomes difficult and dangerous. Most people think survival warmth means one thing: fire. Build a bigger fire, add more wood, and stay close. But fire has a problem. It burns fast and consumes fuel quickly. It requires constant attention and fades through the night. And when it fades, the cold returns immediately. So the real challenge is not just creating heat, but keeping it, holding it, trapping it, and controlling where it goes. This is where something unexpected comes in. The ground beneath you. While air loses heat quickly, Earth behaves differently. It stores heat and releases it slowly over time. Ancient humans understood this through survival, not science. They noticed caves stayed warmer than open air. They observed buried objects held temperature longer. They learned the ground could protect against wind and cold. So instead of fighting the cold from above, they used the earth below. They created simple pits designed to trap warmth. Not random holes, but controlled survival spaces. Some shallow, some deeper, all built with purpose. Reduce exposure, limit heat loss, and create a micro-environment. Across colder regions, variations of this method appeared in many cultures. From nomadic groups to early hunting camps, the idea remained the same. The ground can hold heat longer than the air around you. But this is where most people misunderstand the method. It is not just about digging a hole and sitting inside it, because on its own, a pit does nothing useful. Cold ground can actually pull heat away from your body. Without preparation, it becomes a cold trap instead of a shelter. So why did this method work for centuries? And why is it almost never taught today? The answer lies in understanding how heat actually moves. Heat always moves from warm to cold, never the other way. Your body produces heat constantly, even when resting. But in cold environments, that heat escapes quickly. It is pulled away by wind, ground contact, and open air exposure. The faster heat leaves your body, the colder you become. So staying warm is not about making more heat. It is about slowing the loss of heat you already have. This is where the pit changes everything. Lowering yourself into the ground reduces exposure to wind. Air movement passes above you instead of around you. This immediately reduces one of the biggest heat loss factors. But that is only the first layer of protection. The real advantage comes from insulation inside the pit. When prepared correctly, it creates a barrier between you and cold earth. Materials like dry leaves, grass, bark, or cloth can be used. These materials trap pockets of air within their structure, and trapped air slows down heat transfer significantly, which means your body heat stays with you longer. Now combine this with a small controlled heat source nearby. Not a large fire, but a steady and manageable warmth source. The pit begins to act like a heat pocket. Warm air settles into the space and remains trapped. Because the walls block wind, heat does not escape easily. In some methods, heated stones are also used effectively. Stones are warmed near a fire and placed safely in the pit. They slowly release stored heat over many hours, providing warmth without constant fuel consumption. This technique has been used across different survival cultures, from heated ground beds to insulated sleeping pits. The principle remains simple. Store heat, trap it, release it slowly. But like all survival methods, execution is critical. A poorly built pit can make conditions worse. If the ground is damp, it will pull heat from your body. If insulation is missing, cold transfers directly into you. If airflow is ignored, cold air or smoke can collect. So the setup must be done with intention. A shallow pit deep enough to block wind effectively. Dry insulation layered properly at the base. Optional heat sources like stones placed safely and correctly. Positioning that avoids water flow and moisture buildup. Even slight elevation matters in preventing water collection. Because water always flows downward and brings cold with it. A wet pit quickly becomes a dangerous cold trap. But when done correctly, the results are immediate. You feel less shivering and conserve more energy. Your body temperature becomes more stable, and most importantly, you can actually rest. Sleep in survival is not comfort, it is survival itself. Without rest, decision-making becomes slower and weaker. Reaction time drops and risks increase significantly. Now consider this question carefully. If this method works so well, why is it rarely taught? Why do most people never hear about it? Part of the answer is its simplicity. It does not look impressive or modern. No advanced tools, no expensive gear, no complex setup. Just a hole in the ground and natural materials. In a world focused on modern solutions, simple methods get ignored. But there is another deeper reason behind it. Modern survival content focuses on visible tools and gear. Things that can be shown, sold, and marketed easily. A ground pit does not fit into that system. It is subtle, low profile, and almost invisible, yet highly effective in real conditions. And in survival, low visibility can be a major advantage. Less exposure, more protection, and fewer resources needed. Which brings us back to the core idea. Warmth is not about fighting the environment, it is about working with it intelligently. Using what already exists around you, understanding how heat behaves and moves, and applying that knowledge in simple ways, because sometimes the safest place to survive the cold is not above the ground, but within it.